Welcome to this week's Harness Racing Alumni Show. I'm Freddie Hudson, and I'm here as always with Trade Martin and Bob Marks. This week's Harness Racing Alumni Show is sponsored by Winbak Farm Canada's newest staffing, Captain's Quarters. The son of Captain Treacherous is standing his first season with a stud fee of $5,000 Canadian. For more information or to book a breeding, call 905-838-2145 or email stallions@winbakfarm.com. Captain's Quarters. Also, the Meadowlands Racetrack. Visit playthemeadowlands.com. And Hunterton Farm, breeding champions year after year. Visit huntertonfarm.com.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show with your hosts, Freddie Hudson and Trade Martin.
On today's show, we are going to interview our co-host, Trade Martin. Trade is going to tell us how he basically entered the harness racing sport. A little bit about Trade. He's an entertainer. He's a songwriter, a musician, an actor, a producer. He's been nominated for Clio Awards. He wrote music for Pepsi, did all their commercials years ago. He has a nightclub act, and he's won a Grammy. So, Trade, tell us how you came from being an entertainer to ending up in the harness racing sport.
I've been very lucky as an entertainer, actually. And I didn't write the Pepsi. I sang most of the Pepsis, but I didn't write it, and I arranged and produced a lot of the Pepsis. But I didn't actually write the Pepsi commercial. That's one I didn't write. I wrote plenty of others, but not Pepsi. But I just wanted to clear that up. That's all right. No, it's okay. But, when I first started, a friend of mine used to have a riding horse, and he used to let me go riding on the riding horse, I kind of fell in love with horses. I like being around horses. I relate to them, and I've always been very gentle with horses. But we started going to the racetrack here and there, Liberty Bell, Yonkers, Roosevelt, all over the place. Goshen, we used to go to almost every year for a long time. And I met Billy Houghton up there way before I was in the business. And I was really honored to meet him. Somebody introduced me to him. I forget who it was. Said, "This is Billy Houghton, Trade Martin." And Billy goes, "Trade?" He goes, because he had a lot of trader horses or something. And he was like confused with my name. Anyway, so I shook hands with him. I said, "Billy, great to meet you." Later on, I did race against him at Goshen a number of years later. It's a funny story. But anyway, so I was always interested in the racing scene because I was always looking for a diversion from my music, which was constantly haunting me. I mean, I love music, and that's what I do for a living, and I've done really well with it. But I was always looking for a diversion, and I didn't like golf. I didn't like, different sports, different pastimes. I did go fishing a lot, and I did go hunting, and I kind of liked speed because we used to race skidoos up in Maine on the snow, and I did a little motorcycling when I was younger, just a little, and I did like speed a lot. So I wound up meeting someone who owned, I'm not sure he owned it, but he leased it, the Blue Spruce Farm in Goshen, Tom Cianci. I met him at Goshen. He invited me to come over to the farm, and he talked me into buying this horse, which was really, I felt sorry for the horse because it was really in bad shape when I bought her, and I said, let me fool around with a horse a little bit. I started jogging horses and started learning how to work with them, and she was like an 8-year-old trotter, and I never got her past 212. That was about where I got her, and but she kept trotting, and she was all right. But she was, it was like I was always involved with fast women and slow horses, You know, that was the story of my life. But I wound up, Harry Pinal was helping a guy up at Blue Spruce Farm with his horse, which was a trotter. And I started to know Harry Pinal, a nice man. And you know, he loved music, and he heard about me. Tommy, the owner, told him about me, told him I was a musician, a singer, and an entertainer and everything. And he was enthralled with that with me, and I was enthralled with him because he was, I mean, you know, because I had the book and the care and training of the trotter. The trotter and pacer, and he was in it, you know, and I was like really, almost starstruck with Harry Pinal. And he was really so nice to me. I believe he was really originally from Long Island. But he kind of showed me a lot of stuff. And I got really interested in horse conformation and lameness and gait and trotting gait and shoeing the horses, the right way, heavy in front, light behind with the trotter, and keep the toe long, and sometimes square the toe, and all of it. I really got really into it and started studying it a lot. I mean, I really started learning a lot. Then I met Georgie Ziegler. Georgie Ziegler, who eventually became Georgie Cliff, right, on the coast. But he got, for some reason, he got thrown out of either Roosevelt or Yonkers or Monticello or both. And he had stalls at Blue Spruce Farm. So Tommy Cianci introduced me to him. And I got to know George. He was a nice man. He was a Hungarian guy, and he was he had a nice accent. And I met his wife, and he had two very young daughters. And he lived in Englewood. I was living in Weehawken, which was not that far away. But anyway, we got to know each other a little bit, and we decided to buy a horse together. We bought a trotter, and at the Old Glory sale, and she looked like she was going to be a decent trotter. She did some good at Goshen one July 4th weekend. It was in the late 60s or early 70s. Her name was Great Dundee. So anyway, I got hooked. I was just hooked on trotters. You know, I liked that they were not overly equipment based, and with the hobbles and everything like that. And I just fell in love with trotters. That's all began because of Harry Pinal. And we got those horses, and then for some reason we had a couple of horses up in Monticello. We won some races, and George was driving. I was just fooling around and just working on getting my P license, and everything was going well, and I was enjoying it. It was a diversion from my music stuff, because I would have liked to have played golf with Tiger Woods, but that wasn't going to be good enough, and maybe fought Mike Tyson, but I wasn't good enough for that either, you know. But I knew if I
I don't think too many of us are.
I know, but I knew if I got a license, if I got an A license, I could race against anybody in the country. If I had a horse in the race, I could race against anybody in the country, no matter who they were. Billy Houghton, Stanley Dancer, Johnny Chapman, your dad, your great dad, who I think was one of the signatures on my original license.
Probably, because my dad introduced me to you. It was 1972 or 1973. You were doing a charity event over at Joe Ricco's father's restaurant. Restaurant in Monticello.
Yeah.
And that was when I first met you. And so my dad had known you, and I don't know how he had known you or whatever, but he knew you. So.
Yeah, well, I was a guitar player, and he loved the guitar. You know, he knew I was a guitar player too. You know, but yeah, well, I did a lot of those things up in Monticello. You know, and that was fun. But to move on, then me and George we didn't have a problem with each other, but I decided to start a stable when I bought 2 or 3 yearlings, and I brought them to the Willowbrook Farm in Jersey. You know, it was there. It was Buddy Cummer was there. You remember Buddy?
Yep, Lou Cummer, Buddy Cummer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I saw him, gosh, about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Last time I saw him at one of the Harris trails. Yeah, that was the last time I saw him. So.
Yeah, no, he was a nice man, and he was a good horse. He was a good horseman too. He had a number of horses there at the farm,
good driver trainer. You know, we wound up owning a Jersey sire stake horse together. After and he was with me with my horses at Willowbrook, and he showed me a lot of stuff, and I knew a lot of stuff already, but he showed me a lot of stuff. I was very blessed in meeting a lot of good horsemen who really knew about trotters and knew how to balance a horse and knew how to train a horse. And I was learning as I was going on, and I was doing pretty well, and I wasn't going to be a great horseman by any means, but I wanted to know everything about horses. I wanted to learn everything. And I even got to shoe horses. I didn't shoe a lot of horses because it's a tough gig shoeing horses. I mean, I would be able to put on a shoe here or there and, would it stay on?
Oh, yeah. I knew how to get it on and crib it down and everything. Yeah, I knew how to really put a shoe on really good. Anyway, Buddy was a nice man. I don't think he's still alive. He must be, he would be really up in age now if he was still alive. But, all right, so then I was on the Willowbrook Farm, and then eventually I took 1 or 2 of those horses, and I was going over to Freehold, and I was in a couple of qualifying races over there, and then I qualified a couple up at Monticello, and then I was racing almost every week, training horses in races at Johnson Park, the matinee park. And I'd win a couple of races there. Me and Jackie Moe was there at that same time. He was pretty young. He was only about 15 or 16, where I was around 30 or 31 or something. And Sid Mose was there, and his dad was there, and we'd be in races together, and we'd have some fun and win and finish first and second in a couple of races. But anyway, so then eventually Vince McGamble became a friend of mine, and he called me up. He goes, "Mr.
McGamble, presiding judge, Judge Vince."
Yeah, he became a really good friend of mine, and he liked me, and he said, "Listen, you got a lot of qualifying drives." He said, "You want me to put in for your A license?" I said, "Yeah, Vince, if you think I got enough and everything." Yeah, he goes, "Yeah." He says, he said, "I'll contact the USCA and I'll recommend they give you your A license." So I got my A license, and then I was able to drive with all the big deals, and I was very, very happy about that, and I was in a number of races, and I win a couple here and there. I win some win at Freehold. I win at Ocean City. I win at Monticello. I was in only 1 or 2 races at the Meadowlands, which were sire stake races where I didn't do well. I did win a Jersey sire stake race with the horse I owned with Buddy Cummer, JM Special. I win one day with her down in the Millstone Township, the track. It was like an auto track. It was very stony. It's really rough, unbelievable. But anyway, so I went with her down there at the trotter. And that was basically it. And then I started racing at Monticello, and I raced at Goshen a number of times. And one race at Goshen, I had a 2-year-old who was really a fast baby. And her name was Instrumentalist. And I took her from being a little baby, and I broke her from scratch. And, I mean, she was so wild, I couldn't get her in the stall at first. I finally got her. I had to rope her into the stall. I got her into the stall, and then we started breaking her. And a friend of mine helped me break her, and we finally wound up training her around 2.9 in the bike. You know, I went about 16 or 17 in the jog cart the previous week, and then I went about 12 in the bike. No, that went around 2.9 in the bike. But this track was an bad. It wasn't bad, but it was not a good track. And I had her entered into at Goshen as a 2-year-old, and 2-year-old trotter and Instrumentalist. I was in. I get in this race. I look at the race, and who's in the race? Was Stanley Dancer, Billy Houghton, Johnny Chapman, George Schulte. I forget who else. You know.
You're now at the Grand Circuit level.
Yeah. And they all got 2-year-olds. You know. So we're in the race, and we're going up to the gate. And I had my horse gate trained like she was gate trained like she was a 14-year-old. I mean, I could put her right on a gate, everything. But I noticed I was the only one on the gate. You know, like really with my horse's nose on the gate, because I didn't want to go up there without a horse being gate trained. You know, and I made sure I trained her a lot on the gate at the farm. So Stanley Dance is way off the gate, like 3-4 lengths off the gate. Billy Houghton's 3 or 4 lengths off the gate. All of them, Johnny Chapman and Schulte, they're all way off the gate. Like I think Schulte was closer to the gate than that. But I had my Instrumentalist, my horse, who I thought was going to be a really good horse, on the gate. And I had a couple of shoeing problems with her before the race. But what happened was, when we went away with the gate, the guy who drove the gate, I forget who it was, but he went down the stretch at a clip that my horse had never went that fast before. He must have went down the stretch in a 27 clip. I mean, the best he was in like a 29-second clip. And I was right on the gate, and she was sucking right along with the gate. She wouldn't let go. And when he put on the gas and took off, I was like, I had to have been 10, 12 lengths in front of the field. I mean, I couldn't really tell because they were behind me, but I was really in front. And I felt it getting very wobbly. She had never made a break in her life. Going around the first turn at Goshen, I felt it being very, very shaken. Hey, come on, girl! Come on, girl! I'm yelling at her. Come on! And she makes a break. And I take her, of course, I take her to the outside, and I eventually got her back trotting. And of course, I finished, I think 6th. I think there was about 6 horses in the race, including me. And after the race, Billy Houghton goes to me, he goes, Trey, he goes, when you took off like that, he says, I thought we would never catch you. I said, I know. I said, Billy, well, what are you going to do? I said, I got news for you. I trained her faster than the race went. The race went 9 and 4. I remember like it was yesterday. I trained her in 2.9. And, I mean, she could have gone probably in 2.7 that day at Goshen. But, unfortunately, she made the break, and after that, I was gone. I mean, it's tough to get them back trotting. I got her back trotting eventually, but it was tough to get her back trotting. When a horse never makes a break, and she does make a break, she doesn't even know what to do after that. And you try to grab into her, and you try to snap her into the gate, a trotting gate, but it doesn't happen all the time, and I couldn't get back into the race. So I finished sixth. I finished back.
Hey, anyway, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Many years ago, weren't you one of the first people to put Joe Feraldo down to drive a horse in one of the amateur races when he was just starting out as an amateur driver?
I don't remember that, Fred. It might have been. I might have, but I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Where did you hear that?
I thought you told it to me, but
no, I don't remember that. No.
I might be getting you mixed up with Larry Roller telling me something. So
maybe Larry did. Yeah, maybe Larry let him out because I love driving my own horses, and which is usually what I did. I wasn't going to be a catch driver. I wasn't able to really synchronize myself so I could drive anybody else's horses, even though I did eventually own a couple of pacers here and there, But I always tried to train my horses free-legged. I was so used to being free-legged with the trotters that I wanted my pacers to be free-legged, and I got some to go really pretty fast with but I couldn't go race time.
What did you get them down to? About 210?
Not even that. I think I could go around 15 or something with them, and then after that I needed hobbles. They just couldn't.
When you start having to hold them together, so
yeah, you can't race like that. You got to be able to put the pedal to the metal.
I think that would be a real interesting race to have nowadays, to have a free-legged pace race. Because now these horses, they can basically pace miles in 2 minutes or 1:55 free-legged.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because they're so well bred now. Not that the horses weren't well bred then, but now the standard bred has become a much tighter bred horse, and it trots coming out of the foal, coming out of the mom.
Right.
Starts trotting. It's ready to go. So they, and then if you showed them how to pace, they pacing right along.
Yeah, it's a lot different from nowadays from when I was breaking horses. Trotters, they had weighted them up front, lighten them up behind.
Yeah.
Pacers just the opposite, lighten them up and head.
Right. And heavy behind. Yeah. It's true. But anyway, that's basically what happened, and I really take my hat off to Harry Pinal. He taught me a lot, and I learned a lot, and I was really into learning a lot about lameness and balancing and everything. And I was, because I was very rhythmic, because I also play drums too. I play drums and bass. Guitar is my main instrument, but as a drummer, I always felt the rhythm. I could feel the rhythm of the trotter. I could feel when he was going funny, and I could make sure I could hold him and yell at him and get him to straighten out and get him to go good. But I love harness racing, and I love the speed, and I love the I love being in a race. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the competitive situation with different drivers and everything like that. So I was very lucky.
Yep. Now, how big was your largest stable that you ever had?
I had about 12 horses at one time down at the Willowbrook when Buddy Comer was there, and a couple of them I got qualified, but never really amounted to too much. They were all young horses. I bought all young horses right away, and I did claim one or two that I win a couple of races with down there at Freehold. But I had a lot of guys who wanted to buy horses with me, but I only wanted to call my own shots. I didn't want anybody calling me 1,000 times a day and asking me how the horse trained and what happened, what's going on, how's he doing, and everything. I didn't need that aggravation because I had music on my mind. And when I used to go out to jog a horse, I used to just be either writing a lyric in my head or doing something. Because jogging is really kind of boring, Yeah. I mean, you guys go, hey, come on and jog my horse. I said, no, I jogged 1 million horses. I don't want to jog. I don't feel like jogging horses. I said, I'll turn one and train one with you. But I said, I'm not going to,
You're almost falling asleep when you're jogging one.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
yes, it is boring. So.
Yeah, especially when you're going 5 or 6 miles in the freezing cold, And I used to dress up pretty quick, pretty good, but I used to stay on the track and really be frozen at the end of the mile, But
Yep.
you don't want to not do that because you let down the horse in training. They need that jogging. They need to get out. But anyway, that was about it.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, now I'm going to close the show out. We now have the history of Trade Martin in harness racing. Trade, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thanks a lot, Freddie, for having me, and thanks for the interview. I appreciate it. Didn't want to bore people with too much of the other intricate stuff. Right. There's a lot of stuff I had to leave out.
Oh, yeah. I am going to close. You have written and produced the best harness racing song that there ever was. It's called Roosevelt Raceway.
Well, you wrote it with me, Fred.
I know. This week's Harness Racing Alumni Show is sponsored by Winbak Farm Canada's newest stallion, Captain's Quarters. The son of Captain Treacherous is standing his first season with a stud fee of $5,000 Canadian. For more information or to book a breeding, call 905-838-2145 or email stallions@winbakfarm.com. Captain's Quarters. Also, the Meadowlands Racetrack. Visit playthemeadowlands.com. And Hunterton Farm, breeding champions year after year. Visit huntertonfarm.com. That's a wrap for this week's show. Thanks for listening, and please join us again next week.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show.